In a significant and carefully orchestrated show of force, the United States has once again demonstrated its formidable military capabilities in the Caribbean theater. This time the focus was on amphibious power projection, a cornerstone of U.S. expeditionary warfare. The operation, which took place under the guise of a routine multinational training exercise, involved a high-profile amphibious landing on the strategic Colombian coastline near Covenias. This location, situated directly across the Caribbean from Venezuela's northern shores, was chosen for its strategic proximity to a nation whose government has become increasingly hostile to U.S. interests. The exercise was a complex and meticulously choreographed affair designed not only to sharpen war-fighting skills, but also to send an unmistakable message to Caracas. It was a visceral reminder of America's ability to swiftly move Marines, armor, and logistical support forces into forward positions well within striking distance of Venezuelan territory. The operations core was a multifaceted integration of sea, air, and ground elements, a testament to the seamless interoperability that defines modern U.S. military doctrine. The amphibious assault was spearheaded by a landing craft air cushion or LCAC designated LCAC-88. These versatile hovercraft are the workhorses of the Navy and Marine Corps, capable of delivering troops, vehicles, and heavy weaponry directly onto contested beaches with unparalleled speed and efficiency. In this instance, LCAC-88 transported U.S. Marines and heavy equipment from Combat Logistics Battalion 8, a unit well versed in the complexities of littoral operations. The Marines and their gear surged ashore from the San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock USS New York, a vessel that served as a mobile command hub and a floating base for the entire operation. The USS New York is a powerful symbol of U.S. resolve, a ship whose name is a constant reminder of the United States' enduring commitment to security. Its presence in the Caribbean, launching an amphibious assault exercise so close to Venezuela, was a deliberate choice. The exercise was conducted under the broader umbrella of Combat Logistics Regiment 2, 2nd Marine Logistics Group, ensuring that all aspects of the operation, from the initial landing to the establishment of forward supply lines, were executed with precision. As the LCAC thundered toward the Colombian coastline, a new element was introduced to the exercise. An F/A-18 Hornet from Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 112 provided simulated close-air support, its engine screaming overhead as it patrolled the skies. The inclusion of the Hornet, a potent symbol of marine air power, amplified the realism of the exercise, simulating the kind of air-ground coordination that would be essential in any potential confrontation near Venezuela. The Hornets flew low over the beachhead, their afterburners a physical and audible reminder of U.S. air dominance. This element of the exercise was a direct signal to Venezuela's military, which has been receiving support from Russia and China, that any attempt to challenge U.S. forces in the air would be met with overwhelming force. The synergy between the ground, sea, and air components of the operation was a clear message to all observers: the U.S. military is a fully integrated fighting force ready to respond to any contingency in the region. From the perspective of Washington, the exercise was officially described as a routine multinational training operation, a diplomatic and military narrative that has been used to describe similar maneuvers in the past. However, defense analysts were quick to point out that the symbolism was unmistakable. The decision to stage such a high-visibility operation so close to Venezuela's northern coast was a calculated signal of resolve. It was a message intended for Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his government, which have consistently condemned recent U.S. maneuvers in the region as provocations aimed at destabilizing his country. Senior U.S. defense officials maintained a firm stance, stating that the freedom of maneuver in the Caribbean and support for regional partners such as Colombia remain non-negotiable aspects of U.S. foreign policy. This public and private messaging underscores a growing chasm between Washington and Caracas, a divide that has been widening for years. The amphibious landing was a dramatic display of force in an attempt to bridge that chasm with a clear and undeniable message that the United States is prepared to act decisively to protect its interests. The choice of Covenias, Colombia as the landing zone was far from coincidental. Located just across the Caribbean Sea from Venezuela's oil-rich northern coast, the location offers a strategic launch point within striking distance of key Venezuelan infrastructure, including refineries, ports, and military bases. The symbolism of staging an amphibious assault on the coast of a U.S. ally with Venezuela's coast in clear view was a powerful visual. It was a physical and strategic demonstration of what a full-scale U.S. response might look like if tensions were to escalate further. From a strategic standpoint, control of sea lanes in the Caribbean would be decisive in any confrontation. Amphibious drills such as this demonstrate the U.S.'s ability to establish forward bases and secure littoral choke points, denying adversaries freedom of movement and access to key areas. In a scenario where economic sanctions escalate into a military standoff, such maneuvers ensure the U.S. can blockade or neutralize Venezuelan naval activity at will, crippling the country's ability to export its oil and import much-needed goods. The Covenius exercise was a dress rehearsal for a potential future conflict, and the message it sent to Caracas was as loud and clear as the afterburners of the Hornet flying overhead. In Caracas, the Maduro government reacted sharply to the amphibious drill. State media denounced the operation as an imperialist provocation, a familiar narrative intended to rally domestic support and condemn what they view as foreign meddling. The Venezuelan armed forces, known as the FNB, claimed to have intensified coastal defense patrols in response to the U.S. maneuvers, a predictable but largely symbolic show of force. Reports from Venezuelan defense outlets suggested that fast attack boats, coastal missile batteries, and Russian-made Su-30 fighter aircraft have been placed on a heightened alert status. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez declared that Venezuela would defend every inch of its sovereignty, warning that any U.S. military activity near its borders would be met with a firm and proportional response. These public statements are a clear attempt to project strength and control, but military analysts note that Venezuela's aging military hardware and limited logistical capacity pale in comparison to the expeditionary capabilities demonstrated by the U.S. Marines and their Colombian partners. The immense disparity in resources and technology means that while Caracas can issue bold warnings, its ability to act on them in a meaningful way is severely limited. The strategic signaling from the U.S. is clear: a full-scale U.S. intervention would be an overwhelming force, and Venezuela's military would be no match for it. The chessboard had been flipped, and the pieces were now moving in their favor. The tanks had not yet arrived, but their shadow was already casting a long, dark pall over Russian ambitions. The war of logistics, of production, of sheer will, was a battle Russia was now forced to fight on a new, far more dangerous playing field. The tanks had not yet arrived, but their shadow was already casting a long dark pall over Russian ambitions. The war of logistics, of production, of sheer will, was a battle Russia was now forced to fight on a new, far more dangerous playing field. The tanks had not yet arrived, but their shadow was already casting a long, dark pall over Russian ambitions. The war of logistics, of production, of sheer will was a battle Russia was now forced to fight on a new, far more dangerous playing field. The tanks had not yet arrived, but the transfer of these immense machines from American ports to the European front was a symphony of modern logistics on an unprecedented scale. In American ports, Abrams and Bradleys rolled onto cavernous cargo ships, their treads biting into the decks as they were chained down for the Atlantic crossing. Soldiers, meanwhile, flew separately, packed into charter flights with rifles slung and rucksacks heavy, leaving their machines to travel by sea. The separation was a stark reminder of the mission's complexity. Weeks later, as the ships opened their holds in European ports, Bremer, Gdansk, Antwerp, the world watched as the steel emerged. Abrams' engines roared to life, a deep guttural sound as they rolled onto European soil. From the ports, the brigade dispersed inland. Heavy rail cars carried Abrams east, chains rattling while Bradleys and artillery rolled with them. Convoys of trucks stretched into the night, headlights dimmed, escorted by military police. The movement could not be hidden entirely. Social media lit up with sightings, and Russian intelligence surely recorded each one, but it was carefully timed, carefully planned. In staging areas in Germany and Poland, soldiers reunited with their vehicles. Engines were tested, turrets traversed, ammunition racks loaded, and maintenance crews inspected every machine, hunting for damage from the voyage. Nothing would move forward until the machines were sharp and ready. In Poland, soldiers reunited with their vehicles. Engines were tested, turrets traversed, ammunition racks loaded, but tanks alone do not march. Behind the armored spearhead stretched the lifeline of logistics, and it was as vast as the combat units themselves. Abrams are gluttons, consuming gallons of fuel with each mile. Bradleys and Paladins are little better. To keep them moving, fuel convoys followed like shadows, their tankers running day and night, guarded as tightly as the machines they fed. Ammunition was another tide: 120mm rounds, tow missiles, artillery shells, crates of machine gun ammunition. For the soldiers, life became a rhythm of road marches, maintenance, and waiting. At dawn, tank crews climbed onto their Abrams to conduct pre-checks, clambering over hulls with grease on their hands, wiping dust from gauges, and calibrating thermal sights. Infantry squads sat inside Bradleys, cramped and sweating, swapping jokes or drifting into exhausted naps as their vehicles rattled east. When convoys halted, soldiers spilled out into fields or woods, camouflage nets stretched over steel. Camps appeared from nothing, and men and women hunched over warm MREs in the smell of diesel. Some called home on crackling lines, their words brief but heavy with distance. Most simply slept beside their machines, using armor as walls against the cold wind. Nights were long, interrupted by the occasional buzz of a drone overhead, a reminder that the enemy was always watching. Inside the Abrams, the day began like ritual. The driver lay prone in his compartment, checking his controls, making sure the beast would obey when coaxed forward. The loader rehearsed his motions, heavy shell to hand, breech open, round slammed forward with the force of a hammer. The gunner adjusted his sights, aligning his laser rangefinder, ensuring accuracy would not falter when needed. The commander stood above, scanning horizons even during practice marches, because vigilance was not optional. Their words were clipped, functional, pared down to their bones, so that in the roar and chaos, clarity remained. Nearby, paratroopers trained in tandem, flight, mobile, securing the ground the armored column would need to cross. From Moscow, every move was tracked with mounting alarm. Russian state television flashed maps of NATO convoys. Generals dug trenches and laid mines, and intelligence reports warned of American armor massing within reach of the Polish and Ukrainian fronts. The Kremlin understood the message. These machines were not abstract symbols, they were physical proof of American resolve. Steel on the ground where it mattered. In Warsaw, the view was the opposite. As the convoys closed on staging areas in Poland near Przemyśl and in Romania near Siret, the atmosphere thickened with inevitability. Soldiers knew each inspection, each mile, and each sleepless night had led them here. The ground shook beneath the treads of armor. The air vibrated with their passage. The sky overhead hummed with NATO reconnaissance planes circling watchfully. The brigade had not yet crossed into the combat zone, but it did not need to. Its very presence reshaped the battlefield. For the soldiers themselves, the mission was clear and simple: keep the brigade sharp, keep it ready, keep it moving. Their world was reduced to the essentials: maintenance checks, convoy schedules, supply lines, and the knowledge that one day the order might come to roll across the line. For Russia, the sight of Abrams and Bradleys was both a warning and a promise that America still knew the weight of preparation, the discipline of soldiers, and the resolve to act when the stakes demanded it. Analysts now debate whether the U.S. amphibious drill is a precursor to more aggressive military action. Future steps could include carrier strike group deployments, expanded air patrols from bases like Puerto Rico, or joint training with regional allies like Brazil and Guyana. Each potential move would tighten the strategic noose around Venezuela, further isolating the Maduro regime and his international backers. The deployment of a carrier strike group in particular would be a major escalation, bringing immense air and naval power to the region and signaling a level of resolve that would be difficult for Caracas to ignore. Expanded air patrols would serve to further monitor Venezuelan military activity and create a persistent presence that would restrict freedom of movement. Joint training with new partners would build a wider coalition against Venezuelan aggression, strengthening the U.S.'s diplomatic and military position in the hemisphere. These options are all on the table, and the Covenius exercise was a clear demonstration that the U.S. has the capability and the political will to enact them if necessary. The deliberate nature of the drill, combined with its high visibility and strategic location, suggests that it is not an isolated event but rather part of a larger coordinated strategy to reassert U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere.